Brutal animations, satisfying combat, and the best use of orcs.
Not orcs, they're Uruks. They're far worse. There's too many.
I'm sorry, don't need to get preachy on me. Anyways, and the best use of Uruks I've ever seen. This, my friends, is Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor. A game developed by Monolith Productions, which you might know from the Fear or Condemned series. Shadow of Mordor feels like a combination of all they learned on the before mentioned titles, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The game starts in a very short and sweet way, you know, as much as human sacrifice can be sweet. Talion, which is your main character by the way, and his family get murdered by Uruks in a blood sacrifice. The wraith Celebrimbor, I'm not really sure how to say it, so bear with me, okay? Cool. Anyway, Celebrimbor sees Talion as an opportunity for revenge on the Dark Lord, so he latches onto him. From here on, you are free to roam around the map. Later on, you will unlock a second one, which you can also explore at your own leisure. Sadly, these maps are very much boring, bland, open places. There are some structures and strongholds which are the most interesting locales, but I am very sad to say that I have already started forgetting most of them. Luckily, what this game lacks on environments, it makes up for in violence. The animations are absolutely top notch, they feel so visceral, every blow has a feel to it, and when you're surrounded by Uruks and you start chopping up their heads, seeing those perfect animations mixed with the great sound design, you start getting so fucking hyped for it. Not many games have ever given me the feel that I'm doing something so badass as well as Shadow of Mordor. Whether you're sneaking around or going in full balls, there's always a sense that you're the hunter in this cruel world. The combat is basically Batman Arkham style, meaning you have a normal attack, a stun attack, and a parry button with special moves that can be performed when your combo meter hits a certain number. Except, you know, instead of knocking out the enemies, you make their heads fly off. Some abilities will be locked behind a skill tree. There's the ones you can't live without, such as Shadow Kill, and others I will most likely completely ignore finding footage for because I used it so little, such as the dagger throws, which honestly I don't know what they're for. But that's not what you came here for now, is it? Here, have another montage of murder. You can also use stealth, which is a bit on the basic side. Enemies can be attracted to your location with a press of a button, and they have a little bar that fills up when they spot you. If it goes red, then you're bred. That doesn't even make sense. Whatever. The problem is that it's far too easy to sneak up behind them, or even weirder to go around them, but it kinda plays into the badass fantasy, so I'll let it slide. Obviously, you have the normal stealth kills, but you can also stealth brand an enemy, and my personal favorite, brutalize them. I swear that never gets old. Regardless of your playstyle, something that I highly recommend you use as much as possible is the bow. It's so overpowered, it's not even funny. Especially later on, the ability to slow down time and the fact that you can blow up campfires and instant kill more Uruks with a headshot truly cement the bow as one of the best tools at your disposal. I mean, you can even use it to mount beasts instantly, which makes the game so much more fun for the simple fact that you don't have to deal with them anymore. Anyway, you prefer to play, you'll always have a good time, thanks to the excellent Nemesis System, which to my knowledge hasn't been replicated in any other game aside from its sequel Shadow of War. Basically, the Uruk have a hierarchy that can and will change over the course of the game. If you die or skip time, they will internally struggle. They might even kill each other just to rise ranks. The top dog is the war chief. What makes this even more fun is that each captain has its own name and personality. They actually react to you, becoming angry if you meet them for a second time after they ran away from you, or mocking you if they made you run away from them. Even a normal Uruk can become a captain if they kill you. It truly makes each playthrough unique, as the captains are randomly generated and react enough to you to make it an interesting system. Oh man, and once you get the brand ability, the real fun begins. Branding normal enemies will make them fight for you, you, but branding a captain or war chief allows you to mess around with the hierarchy itself. You can get into some amusing situations where, for example, you want to kill a war chief, so you get captains and order them to become the bodyguards of the war chief, and then you order them to betray him, and all of a sudden you have 4 captains ganging up on the war chief and you don't even have to do anything at all. This kind of thing makes specific situations to you that you can directly influence, and it's such a cool experience. You don't need to make these happen yourself though, as struggles will naturally show up on the map that you can go to. Things like feasts, duels, or recruitments all can be found, and they're an easy way to find and brand a captain most of the times. If you die or skip time, these events will resolve themselves, either with a captain becoming more powerful or dying in the case, for example, of them losing a duel with another captain. Aside from these struggle missions, you also have the main story missions, outcast missions, and legend missions. The main story is very short, specifically if you just go for it with no distractions. It's alright, nothing major. I guess spoilers up ahead, so you've been warned. You go through the Dark Lord's ranks and end up facing the Black Hand of Sauron, basically a high-ranking captain of evil stuff. He tries to steal the wraith from you, but you kill him, and that's about it. I don't like that a sequel was baited and it just ends, but I guess it's fine. The cutscenes are very well done and interesting, but it's not a game you'll play for the story, trust me. Outcast missions, on the other hand, are not fine at all. In fact, they are the boringest in the entire game. The problem with them is that there's far too many of them, and they are always the same. Find the fist icon, kill the Uruk, and unlock the mission, then go to the mission, start it, and then cut free some slaves that are being punished. Nothing changes other than the locale, which is just the open world map and the words spoken to the slaves by the Uruk. Oh, and the amount of slaves to save, but that doesn't really matter, to be honest. All these give you is Mirian, which is basically the V-Bucks of this world. You can use it to improve your health, focus bar, and for new rune slots. Runes are something that you shouldn't forget about, by the way. Like I did. They can truly be helpful to get some real good ones, but I constantly forgot to switch them out for better ones. You get these for killing captains. The higher the captain's power, the higher the rune's level is. You can always sell the ones you don't want for extra Mirian, which is good, but I also forgot about it constantly. I don't know, I just wasn't a big fan of runes. They do make things a bit more customizable, but I can't help but forget about them, or to not even bother to pick them up, especially when you're in the middle of a battle with multiple captains. The last mission type is honestly my favorite. The legend missions are separated into 3 sets of 10. 10 missions for sword, 10 missions for bow, and 10 missions for stealth. These all ask you to do something slightly different, and I wish the outcast missions were more like these ones. Completing them gives you a special ability which you can charge for all 3 styles. Sword gives you unlimited executions, bow gives you unlimited arrows and focus, and stealth makes you invisible for a short period of time, of course. It also gives you little things on your weapons, but they're cosmetic and you can't even see them in the actual game, so there's that. I recommend you do them early on, as I made them way to the end and I barely ever used their benefits. If you end up getting tired of all the murder, well, then the game also has you covered with survival challenges. Essentially, you must find and collect on the map whichever plants the game tells you to get, and that's about it, really. Collecting flowers also replenishes your health. On the other hand, hunting challenges will have you murdering specific creatures just for the hell of it, I guess. Completing these gets you median and the trophy. The only other breaks from slaughtering Uruk are the collectibles. Luckily, they are shown on your map the moment you reforge a tower, which is just a way of Assassin's Creed synchronizing basically. The Elvish seal is honestly useless. I really didn't get the point to it. I don't have much to add, but then again neither did the seal, so there's that. The artifacts, on the other hand, I found very interesting. They're just a 3D object that contains a memory. I like that they had the trouble to actually make the objects 3D and that all the dialogue has voice acting. The memories are generally interesting and add to the lore of the world. As someone who knows nothing about Lord of the Rings, I still found these to be very nice world building that enhanced my enjoyment of the game. After collecting these, Talion and Celebrimbor will usually have something to say about it, and that's just the kind of small but cool things that I love to see in games.
No blood of Numenor is in my veins. I am a Northman, an exile. Chalice never let me forget that, and Yorith never cared.
To the Eldar, all men are the followers. Fleeting visitors who soon pass beyond the circles of the world.
The soundtrack and voice acting are all top notch too. Don't get me wrong though, you won't be blasting the music on your spare time. It's much more of an accompanying piece to the game than actual songs, but on the context of Shadow of Mordor and how it's implemented on it, I have no complaints about it. In fact, it's another way the game hypes you up for all the combat scenarios it throws you into. After you finish the game, you have 2 story DLCs to go through. Let's start with the Lord of the Hunt. First off, I didn't like this DLC. I found it to be a lazy attempt to rehash as much of the game as possible. The premise is that Beastmaster war chiefs came to the second map of the game. I can't be bothered to search the name of it, okay, so bear with it, okay? Alongside Torvin, a dwarf from the main game, you must find a way to draw them out and kill them. Apparently, it never explained why Talion has different clothes, even though it takes place before the ending of the main game. The gimmick on this one is that Caragors, the beasts you mostly rode on the main game, get replaced by Karagat, which are the same thing, but they can stealth kill enemies. The wretched Krog get introduced, which can spit at enemies, and you can control ghoul hordes, like they were Uruk. These are nice additions, for sure, but not when they force you to use them to beat the missions. It made me play in a way that I truly didn't enjoy. I'm sure if you like the beast riding, then this is for you, but it wasn't for me at all. That was my least favorite part of the entire game. It also felt very rushed. Bugs where I kept getting stuck with the grogs happen every time I would use one, and hilariously enough, they pretend Celebrimbor is not there with you, even though they use old voice clips. No new dialogue was added for him. You see, my friends, as I said before, something I truly enjoyed was the small words both characters would speak after every single collectible. The DLC naturally has more collectibles, this time in the form of Torvin's diary pages. I love the illustrations, and just like the base game, I found them to be a welcome addition, and just like those, they aren't a hassle to get since they show up in your map. The shit is that when you pick them up, Talion will still give the dialogue like usual, and Celebrimbor is dead quiet every single time.
I'm surprised Torvin isn't trying to recruit me into hunting one of those mammoths.
It always bothered me because it truly felt like there was something missing. During the cutscenes, they also pretend like he is not there with Talion, which is just weird since he would always show up and give at least a word or two. At the end of the DLC, I kind of understood why this happened though. To put it simply, the voice actor was probably busy, most likely with the next DLC, which is all about Celebrimbor, and this one I enjoyed a lot more. The Bright Lord was the last DLC, and it takes you to the past as Celebrimbor tries to stop Sauron. Okay, so I'm not going to beat around the bush here. This DLC is fun. In fact, the easy branding and emphasis on building an army of Uruk is what I hope Shadow of War is whenever I get to it. But once again, I'm pretty sure this was rushed to hell. The Uruk still talk about Talion even though he wasn't even born yet, and the map is exactly the same except with a crappy red fog filter on top. But I did enjoy my time with it. I just wouldn't recommend either of these DLCs for extra money, but as part of the Game of the Year edition, then they're more than welcome additions. I would just feel a bit ripped off if I had to pay extra for them. Anyway, not everything is negative though. There is also plenty of murder. I promise this was the last one. This DLC actually has a decent amount of variety, but in the end it's still more of the same. This time though, your objective is to brand the war chief to fight Sauron. The boss fight is pretty cool, but the story once again gets pushed to the background. I heard the developers meant for the Bright Lord to be harder than the base game, and they failed absolutely miserably. Seriously, do the one ring missions, then make your ring power have a way longer duration, and it just becomes a win button. Just spam the wave brand move and you'll have it full in no time. Then all you have to do is spam fire arrows or executions and you win. This actually made it much more enjoyable, as once again it tapped into that feel that you're doing something so cool and visceral by destroying everyone around you. Overall, the DLC is more of the same, but with a higher emphasis on branding enemies, and that's about all I have to say about it. Collectibles are back, the main quest is short and okay, and the gameplay is great. I'm not done yet though. The game also has trials, which consist of dropping you into a map, tasking you with eliminating war chiefs and captains. If you do it with specific criteria, you are added to the leaderboard, and if you fail your criteria, you get added to a separate one. I can't really remember what they're called, and I'm very professional, I know, but who cares? There was far too many of these, so I only bothered doing the two I had to for trophies: the Trial of the Ring and the Trial of the Wild. The Trial of the Ring is actually pretty easy, but the Trial of the Wild is kind of a bitch in particular because of the 45-minute time limit. I absolutely recommend googling some strategies for both if you want to beat them. A quick tip for the Trial of the Wild is to get a grog and search around the map for captains to eat, and always use war chiefs to trigger the riot struggle. Trust me, it's so much easier than doing their actual missions. Other than that trophy, everything is extremely easy. Another reason why I wanted to mention this is because unfortunately by the end of 2020 the online functions for Shadow of Mordor will close. What does this mean? Well, it means you can never platinum this game, as the Vendetta trophy will be impossible to obtain. This trophy consisted in avenging someone that had died in their own game. A unique struggle will show up in your map that you could do, and they will simply not be possible anymore since it was an online feature. Bringing your greatest nemesis and ally to Shadow of War will also be impossible, and who knows what else, to be honest. So if you want to ever platinum this game, I recommend you at least go get that trophy, as you can finish it in no time, and that way you'll have the chance to still platinum this game if you want. It's really sad to see games lose parts of themselves just because of online things like this. For now it's only neglectable things like a trophy or something, but I dread a time where games are more dependent on online features or even completely require online to access, and we simply won't be able to play them because the servers are gone forever. But that's for another time. So ends my random rant, and with it also this video. Shadow of Mordor is a pretty good game that, to be perfectly honest, gets carried by how satisfying it is to play and how cool the Nemesis system is. The story is just okay, the world is bland as hell, but damn if it isn't great to play. Also, you can change your skins, but I kind of forgot to add that, so I'll add it right here. Enjoy this tiny clip of me going through the list of them, okay? Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe and like, and let me know what you thought of the game if you ever played it. See you on the next one, which will probably be about a demon hunter. Probably.